very warm welcome to yet another edition of the Spotlight. The Sri Lankan economy has faced numerous challenges in the recent years. However, with the right policies and strategies in place, there is tremendous potential for growth and development in this beautiful island nation that we call home. Now, on the 18th of July 2024, the Sri Lanka Human Capital Summit will be taking place here in Sri Lanka to stimulate thought-provoking conversations and to facilitate important decisions that have to be made to take Sri Lanka out of the rut. Today, I have with me the co-chairs of the summit. First and foremost, I would respectfully welcome Mr. Sutheash Balasubramaniam, Managing Director, Booking Wiz, which is for hospitality solutions provider, and former Director of Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau. And I also have with me Mr. Roshan Kulasuriya, President, Association for Human Resource Professionals and Director, HR and Business Integration at Singer. Thank you for joining me today. So the summit will be taking place on the 18th of July. Mr. Sutheash, I would direct my first question to you. What is this summit all about?
This is the second Human Capital Summit that is happening next week. We need economic growth in Sri Lanka at this point, and one of the most important thing when it comes to development of economy, we need the people, the right people with the right skills, the right capability to run the business. So the reason issues that we have had resulted in mass exodus of professionals and unskilled people from Sri Lanka, but we have been having this over a couple of decades because Sri Lanka had been going through quite a few challenges. So this is really to build a future-ready workforce for Sri Lanka to boost the Sri Lanka economy.
Brilliant. Mr. Roshan, now the Sri Lanka's Human Capital Index has stagnated at 0.58 since 2012. And Sri Lanka is capable of reaching much more in terms of professional growth, development and economy as well. What do you think are the challenges that are sort of hindering Sri Lanka from reaching its full potential?
So the biggest issue that we have had so far is the brain drain, and in the recent past we also have been looking at improving our skills. So the challenges, I would say, primarily focuses on the competencies that is required to become in the global arena. We need to become an important player, and to reach that and to sustain growth and prosperity to all of us, we require a talented workforce. So that talent itself is the core capital of our organization, all the industries that we work. So that's why we are collaborating with the government to build that capability.
Mr. Sutheash, what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, yeah. So building those capabilities and skills are very important. So that I think here we need all the actors who are involved in it come together on this platform that we're planning to have, bring ideas and bring consensus, and to come up with some solution for short term as well as long term.
Now, in terms of brain drain, it's quite a sad state of affairs in terms, because Sri Lanka, there's so much that we can do, and especially with the 2022 economic crisis taking place, we saw, I think approximately, the numbers might vary, but around 300,000 professionals, doctors also leaving from the medical sector. This is an issue, gentlemen. In terms of brain drain, can you tell us how is this really impacting the economy of Sri Lanka? Mr. Sutheash, let's start with you.
Definitely, it's impacting quite a bit. I think various places that I visit, last week we were in a large resort thing, and when we went there, we could see the personnel at the executive level could be seen. They're all committed, wanting to learn, but didn't have the real capability and to handle guests efficiently, effectively, the most efficient manner. So we see that wherever you're walking now, it's particularly after the pandemic that we had and the economic crash, a lot of, as you said, over 300,000 plus unskilled workers, and a lot of professionals left, and doctors too has left, about 600 of them. So when you go to hospitals, you have that impact. When you're in or into leisure impact, when you're at work, you have not getting able to get the right stuff. So if you're building an economy, you need to have that right people.
Mr. Roshan, you come from a strong human resource background, HR as we say. What are your thoughts on the brain drain here in Sri Lanka?
So
Strong
in
impacts.
organizations that we work across industries, talent management is one of the key HR processes. And we have spent all our efforts to attract, retain, and develop. These are the three key focus drivers that any organization has to ensure that you have the right people on the right place. Now, when you don't have the right people on the right place, like what Sutheash just alluded, we also run into gaps where the skill gap is finally impactful for the customer. So the customer could be your end customer, the customer could be your, in the global, as a global player, we need to compete with these global organizations. So as industries, we also have to ensure that we keep pace with the changing world, because the fourth industrial revolution is taking place. So all the younger generation are equipped with the new study programs that they participate. And that talent, when we need to retain, to ensure that we fill that gap.
And actually, it's a lot of the youth we see that are leaving, and at this moment of time, we actually need the youth because they're the future of our country. What would you tell our youth watching us today? I know it's quite a broad topic and there's so much that we can talk about in terms of the opportunities here. There's, it's easy to say stay back in Sri Lanka and let's work through it. But as someone mentioned, Dan is right here. Most of the youth say there is no hope in Sri Lanka. What can we do to sort of make our youth understand? Let's sort of get through this together, Mr. Sutheash.
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka has gone through many challenges, right? We had the insurgency, we had the prolonged civil war, pandemic, and probably going forward we will have probably more challenges coming up, right? There would be environment-related challenges, there could be the divide, the social fabric, there could be breakdowns and issues. So we are not going to be, any country today faces issues, right? Wherever you go, there are issues, and you see that increasingly now. But Sri Lanka, the positive thing is we have seen resilient, right? And as you rightly described at the beginning, it's such a small island, a beautiful island, right? It's so nice to be living in Sri Lanka. Every Sri Lankan who has gone abroad, when they come back, they love to live here. So of course we need to have the right ecosystem, we need to have stability when it comes to national governance, we need to build up on our infrastructure development. So these are some of the things that need to be done. And there are also all the stakeholders that are relevant need to come together, speak in one voice. So there is a consistency, and in policy, in implementations at national level, so that can give confidence to the young people like you to stay on, and also some of them who have gone abroad come. So also it's good in a way, some of them have left, yes, you couldn't have stopped them, but when they come back with long overseas exposure, it's going to be an asset to the country.
In terms of the human resource aspect, Mr. Roshan, what would you, I'm sure you would have encountered as well many personnel leaving the country. What is your reaction to this?
Yeah, so as I said before, this the challenge that we have to attract, retain. Naturally, all organizations, talent issue has become a business issue today. It's no longer a HR department's issue. it's always the business is a business issue. But then the emphasis in terms of what do you do?
Yeah.
What are the industries that are impacted, especially the technology, the hospitality, manufacturing. I mean, these are the 3 or 4 areas that we really need to focus. And then as HR professionals, we have done the normal business as usual models, but now the business models are reshaping. So how we look at talent, how we attract, how we retain, the culture plays a major role in this. As a cultural transformation is taking place as we speak, and that's one of the reasons that we are bringing expert person from overseas to give us those insights so that we also can learn from what they have done in their countries.
Definitely. Now, just to roll back in time to the year 2016, gentlemen, you all mentioned this is the second summit we are holding, the Human Capital Summit. In 2016, Mr. Sutheash, a lot of conversations would have sparked 8 years ago. What were some of the key topics that came up throughout your conversations during the summit?
So at that time that you're talking about, nearly 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I think some of the key sectors that was sort of really handpicked. At that time, we had the construction that was really booming. Then we had the tourism.
Foreign employment.
Manufacturing again was going. So these are some of the sectors, and we got people from the manufacturing sector and also the related stakeholders. They came into discussion, something similar to this. We had overseas experts too came in, so could share their global examples, practices, best practices, and these reports were presented, which are, I think, available on the public domain at National Human Resource Development Authority. And this did create an impact on the policymakers. There was some thought-provoking discussion that came up, and some implementations have been done based on those recommendations.
Mr. Roshan, just to touch upon, during the past 8 years, what sort of work has been done? Just if we could briefly touch upon it.
So our association consists of top 20 companies' HR heads, and we represent as a professional body. Our role is to work with the various bodies, help communities to reshape their skills, competencies, to ensure that we have a future-ready workforce. Now, in that journey, we have partnered with National Human Resources Development Committee in terms of bringing our expert knowledge as well as the challenges that we face and what we see right, and work with various bodies of this country. And we have done work with even global bodies like Society for Human Resource Management. They're the world's largest HR body, and we have partnered with them, and the skills that they bring in has been experienced by our own people. So which is really beneficial to the skills that you bring in to enhance the capabilities of the communities that we work with.
Welcome back to the show this evening, and we're in conversation with 2 esteemed speakers joining us today. Let's get on straight into the Summit 2024. This summit focuses on 5 key pillars. Correct me if I'm wrong: the public sector capacity, information technology, tourism, financial services, and startups. I believe tourism has decided to stay on from 2016 because tourism also was a key factor back in the day 8 years ago. Why has it decided to stay as one of the key pillars, Mr. Sutheash?
I can immediately think of 2 reasons. One is tourism is a low-hanging fruit for the nation, which can pick up very easily. And talking of that we are just coming out of the economic crisis, you see, we need industry which is earning foreign exchange, and the net foreign exchange earning of tourism is very high. The component percentage is very high. There is very little outgoing when it comes to tourism. That's one reason. Number 2, also the recent events have had a fairly significant impact on the tourism. right? Actually, it started even before the pandemic. We had the bomb blast,
Yes.
right? Then the pandemic came in, then followed by economic crisis. So the big investments, hoteliers were made huge investments. They've gone through this most difficult period. I think the most difficult period that they've gone through, probably talking of since independence.
What now, that there will be 5 key pillars that will be focused, especially during the summit. Mr. Roshan, why do you think these sectors were chosen for this year, especially startups we see, tourism obviously, and information technology, financial services? There are other sectors here in Sri Lanka. Why these?
Yeah. So it's a matter of priorities that we have taken. So that's one of the reasons that we have narrowed down to these. And there are other industries, but we can only select few because we are running a conference, a summit, which can sort of encompasses the expertise of various experts who are coming down. But I would like to highlight, we are looking at 3 key areas that we are looking at. One is to increase the talent pipeline by STEM education, skills alignment, digitization, and diversity and inclusion. So that's where we are really looking at. And then the other activity or the objective is to ensure we have a capability development, ensuring there's skill-ready workforce. Because there's a global talent pool, like Sutheash mentioned, that we also see resources coming back, which is a good challenge to have. Because the moment that they have the global expertise, we also have that capability of the country going up. And the third most important thing was how do you retain the talent, the current as well as the people who are here, who are coming back, and then become what are the experts saying about it. That's why we are bringing thought-provoking leaders to this summit, so that we learn from them how have they, for them also, like Sutheash mentioned, it's not only us. We are facing talent is a global issue. It's not only an issue for Sri Lanka.
Definitely. The theme this year, yes, Mr. Sutheash.
Yeah, so I'd just like to add on what Roshan said.
Yeah.
So other sectors, one is the startup is one of the reasons that we are having, Sri Lanka, the number of startups that we have had is compared to other countries in the region is very low. And the SME, the one is it going to provide entrepreneurship, innovation, right, what we really need today. So that's going to increase the numbers. Finance is a fairly an important component when it comes to percentage of GDP. And we have the public sector. Yeah, public sector, I think we need certain reforms, need to improve efficiency, need to keep up with the new trend in terms of industrial, fourth industrial revolutions, and also improve the capability development, which needs some address.
This year's theme is quite interesting, unlocking Sri Lanka's economic potential by building a future-ready global talent pool. Quite interesting, Mr. Roshan. What are your thoughts on this, and what is the summit this year? What are you all hoping to achieve with this theme that you all have put into place?
So, as I alluded before, we are competing against global players. We are within Asia or within the Asia Pacific that we built. A lot of companies are looking for Sri Lankan talent. And if you look at the last few weeks newspapers, and they have global companies have appreciated the talent that we Sri Lanka possess. So that's a good sign, which says that we have a very highly skilled workforce. What we lack is the capability, the programs in place, like Sutheash and the policies in place, the education systems, reforms to be taken place. These are problems that can be solved, and with the journey that we have embarked on, we could become a very competitive workforce for the industries that we represent.
If I can just add on, quite right what Roshan said. You see, Sri Lanka is a net importing country. We import fuel, we lot of import immediate flour, so we need to create a sustainable export economy. You see, if we want to ensure that we don't get into another foreign exchange crisis, we need to really boost our export economy that can really sustain even through tides of changes and or any shocks.
Something that can withstand any change that comes along.
So I think if you want to build, if you want to play in the global market, as it says, we need to build talent that are able to produce the right quality in terms of delivery, in terms of right products, competitiveness. All of that becomes important.
The concept paper that you all had released, I managed to have a glimpse of it. There are 3 key areas. You also just briefly touched upon it, but I want to dig a little deeper into it. You all have 3 key areas, that is increasing the talent pipeline, capability development, and talent retention. Now, do you mind elaborating on these key areas? I know the summit is yet to take place and you can't really predict the future at this point, but what are sort of any specific initiatives that you all have in mind that might be discussed under these key areas?
So, in that context, we are bringing the experts specifically targeting to address these 3 areas.
Right.
Now, I mean, in organizations that we work with and the CEOs research that we have done recently by association, we see there are few areas that to ensure that we focus on and prioritize. And in terms of the talent pipeline, and we have various programs to have a plan for the talent that we have in the organization, as well as how to sustain the talent with the digital revolution taking place. As we speak, the disruption of technology has come into play, and this is where Sri Lanka has to embrace those changes taking place to ensure that the talent that we have is digitally literate to grasp this technology changes taking. So companies are looking at how do you enhance the knowledge, skills of the talent to embrace these changes taking out of the technological disruption. In terms of capability development, there are a lot of programs, the exposure that is provided for organizations in various sectors has resulted also to gain expertise in these areas. So there are many programs, but then it all depends on how far that we take this and sustain these programs.
Mr. Sutheash, a very direct question. There's no point in beating around the bush with this. I would straight up ask you, how can government, private sector and educational institutions work together to ensure that these solutions are implemented?
They have to work together to come up with solutions, right? That is one factor. I think they do work together, but the extent that they are working together is not happening. That's one of the reasons. So we need to bring a lot of skill alignment, right? So for that, you need to work with the academic and the industry. So the institutions, tertiary educations, or education system, or the universities, they need to align with the industry needs. So that's one area that is really lacking in Sri Lanka. So that's one of the reasons you see some of the unrest and unemployment, chronic unemployment happening in Sri Lanka. So that alignment is important, right? Reskilling, upskilling is very important. Because the 4th industrial revolution talks about AI and technology, I'm going to use more of those things. I mean, I'm in the industry now, in the hospitality, where we provide technology and software solutions to hotels. So hotel industry, the travel and leisure is about closer to 60-year-old industry in Sri Lanka. And we have got a beautiful island, we've got a lot to offer, right? And if you take the regional players in this market, they're all quite advanced when it comes to digitalization. And travel and leisure is a very advanced when it comes to digital. You have to be on it. So there's a lot that we need to be had. We have got a good product, but we are not able to take it to the market.
And market it as well.
Market it as well, yeah. People need to know.
Yeah.
It can't be a hidden gem. right? So digitization is it's key. Upskilling, reskilling, you need to be future ready is about that. How do you work with the technology? How do you work with you? So technology is going to develop much faster than what it had been. So those are some of the things that you need to work. So collaboration is very important. It's a key factor. We need to bring the academy. We need to see some of the best practices that are happening in the overseas developed countries. They all work together unless there is a match. Because if you don't have that real matching the needs and working towards that, you're going to see brain drain. You're going to see unrest, right? And you're not going to see economy country progressing.
Mr. Roshan, I think you would also have some thoughts on this, as you also closely work with multiple organizations and different stakeholders. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so for us, the digital transformation is a key enabler. The country needs to understand, as well as the organizations, certainly, there's no choice, private sector organizing. But the government and the key stakeholders that we work with need to focus on and prioritize the digital transformation, which will enable to compete with the players that we are operating within the global economy. Because all the organizations that we partner with as a nation, they are obviously they have invested a lot. Yeah. Today, if you look at shipping, freight, to banking, you name it, they're all, today the technology has taken over. So the artificial intelligence, the various large language models that we've been used today, the youth obviously are very savvy to that. In terms of organization, how far that they will embrace this technological transformation is yet to be seen.
Actually, this human capital is an initiative of the president.
Yeah.
Right. He sees the need. The people of different stakeholders and actors in this need to come to a common platform, need to discuss, bring out their ideas, reach consensus, and work out the program. To come up with some solutions which are workable. So that's where I think he looking for bringing all the people, whether it's professional, even all the organizations. We have all the accountancy bodies who are part of playing a role in this. So is the HR. We have the international agency that come together on this. There are people from the universities who are participating, private sector, industry leaders. So all need to come together, work on this and come up with a fine solution, because only that can give the comfort and the direction to the state what to do and how to do it.
So let's talk about participation. So far we know that Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, the President of Sri Lanka, and Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena, will also be in attendance. We also know that there is an international participation and body taking place in this. What are some of the key aspects that we will be seeing throughout the summit? And let's talk about some of the key figures that we will be seeing as well.
Yeah, I think so. We have the 5 pillars that we discussed earlier, plus there is a leadership panel that will happen. So the 5 in all, I think we have about close to 65 panelists and speakers for this one-day forum, right? From different industry, from different institutions, right, coming up together. So we have the President, Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, opening the ceremony. We also have the part from the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena. We have the former Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, will be here. Then they have the Minister of Education of Malaysia, Dr. Zabri will be here, and the President of SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Management, is Johnny Taylor. Taylor. He is an excellent president. I think he is going to give the overview, right, of the entire to the Human Capital Summit. We have the World Bank president who will speak, come on virtual. Then we have Ron Kaufman. He's a global guru in service excellence and customer experience. He will talk to us. Then we have the World Bank global lead on education, tertiary education. He'll be also talking to us. So these are some of the people who will be doing the inaugural and the technical session before it gets into the pillar discussions. And then there too we have is a mix of local and overseas from different institutions, different industry associations, universities coming together.
Welcome back, and we are on the final lap of this discussion. Mr. Sutheash, Mr. Roshan, thank you once again for joining us. Time is catching up, and my final few questions for you. With this summit taking place on the 18th of July, what will be the outcome of the event? Let's start with Mr. Roshan first.
Yeah, so at this commencement, we said our human capital index is at 0.58.
Yeah.
Now, that means that we have a challenge ahead to increase that capacity to cater to the needs of the country. Now, that means urgent corrective measures has to be taken. And obviously the private sector has no choice, as I said before. But then as a nation, our role as association is to help collaborate with governments, various bodies, to help build a future-ready workforce. That's the expectation from our end. And we have, in the recent past, we have had about 20 CEOs of the top 20 companies. We have received their feedback in terms of what sort of corrections do we need to build a future-ready workforce. So I think that white paper is also ready, and we are also deliberating in terms of how we can make that work to ensure that we achieve the objective of this summit.
Mr. Sutheash, your thoughts?
So I think here we need some short-term solutions because the speed is key, because there is an urgency, and also at the same time we need a medium to long-term solution. So that is what this conference will bring that out. And in fact, other partners of this summit one is KPMG and Deloitte. And Deloitte South Asia, they're the main partner, is flying down with a team of 10. So they're going to really document and record all the discussions that happens from end to end. And there'll be a report that would be prepared at the end of it, taking the views and thoughts and discussions, suggestions of all the 65 plus speakers and keynote presenters, and it will be presented to the government for implementation.
So, in terms of the summit, I believe you all are quite stressed because there's an international delegation also taking place. So I will not question the amount of workload that you all have with the summit. But both of you come from two different areas of expertise. Mr. Roshan, you come from an area of HR, and Mr. Sutheash, you as well, from a different background. But I would want to ask you, how would you envision the future in terms of human capital development, Mr. Roshan?
So we always say the biggest asset we have is human capital. So we have spent a lot of time and effort of nurturing this talent that we have, and that's why today organizations, private sector as well as public sector, we have a very talented workforce in this country. As like Sutheash said, it's a beautiful country, and how do we bring the synergies that we have and then showcase the talent that we have to the world.
I hope this, I think the expectation that it brings in one voice what we need to do for the country to build a future-ready workforce that is implementable, whatever whoever rules the country or governs the country more, right? So that's very important. We need to build smart human capital. We need to develop our infrastructure. We need to have stability in national governance. And so I think with this initiative, we would come out with some solution to see workforce that will be ready to take on the future of this world, right? To build a sustainable export economy and to Sri Lanka to be seen as a preferred investment destination in the eyes of the international players.
Just, I want to squeeze one question before we wrap things up. Whenever Sri Lankans get together and have a conversation, when we talk about Sri Lanka, everyone says Sri Lanka is still a developing nation. Gentlemen, do you all think we might be able to change that notion of Sri Lanka in the future?
Yeah, I think, thank you for bringing up that point. I think we are at a middle level income earner now, which is about close to $4,000. So to get to the upper middle class, we need to change, we need to triple that, we need to become a $12,000 to be a developed nation. So this particular initiative that has been taken by initiated by the president, I think that is where we should be heading to, and that is where we all should be working towards to build a developed nation in the long term.
It's great to see initiative of this nature is being positioned, and we will be able to, get our hands on this matter, and especially as a HR professional organization. We're so glad that we can collaborate with the government and help the government to build a future-ready workforce.
Definitely, because President is all about taking our country forward economically in every possible aspect. So what are your closing remarks, Mr. Sutheash and Mr. Roshan? Your take-home message today for everyone watching us today.
Yeah, I think we all need to work towards building a smart human capital for Sri Lanka to take off to become a developed nation.
Mr. Roshan.
Yeah, so what we also want is to ensure that people have the positive mindset that will help to rebuild this nation again.
All right, thank you for joining us today, and I was in conversation with Mr. Sutheash Balasubramaniam, Managing Director, Booking Wiz, which is for hospitality solutions provider, and former Director of Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, and also Mr. Roshan Kulasuriya, President, Association for Human Resource Professionals, and Director, HR and Business Integration at Singer. They are actually the co-chairs of the summit, and wishing the two of you nothing but the best, and the entire team working, it's the last few days, last lap, and I'm wishing all of you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariella, for having us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariella.
All right, and that brings us to the end of yet another edition. Join us again for a story that will ignite change. Until we meet again, stay safe and have a pleasant night.